maybe humankind conquers the stars eventually. All this is possible with AI and robotics and exponential technology. I like this techno optimist and idealist view, because whatever we have now is a result of this idealism and optimism.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Innovation Room. This is a podcast where we sit down with researchers, with authors, with leaders, with innovators, and other fascinating people to talk about some of the tools, strategies, maybe even tactics that help take innovation efforts further. I'm Oana, your friendly neighborhood innovation advisor and the host of today's episode. And it's a very, very special one. We are going to talk about a theme that is absolutely inescapable in our day work. And that theme is artificial intelligence. My guest today needs absolutely no introduction in his circles, but I'd nevertheless like to introduce him to you. Paavo Ritala is a professor of strategy and innovation at Lappeenranta University of Technology in Finland, but he is also a co-editor-in-chief of the R&D Management journal. So he wears many hats, and you might know him for his widely available research on networks and ecosystems, on sustainable and circular economy, and more recently on his studies about digital transformation, data, AI. Paavo has always been interested in the digital realm, both in his private life and professionally, and you will see how this shines through. Luckily for us, he's currently doing research on generative AI as well, so that we all can better understand the implications of this tremendous technology on our day-to-day work. I really hope you're as excited about this upcoming episode as I am. So let's dig in. Let's talk to Paavo. Hello, Paavo. Welcome. Welcome to the Innovation Room. Please kick off your shoes, make yourself comfortable, take a virtual seat. How are you?
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here. So I think the thing that we discussed today, I've been talking about it quite a bit. So I really feel at home at the moment, I have to say.
Yeah, perfect. So you're feeling at home also from a subject perspective, but I think you're feeling
Indeed.
At home also from a location perspective, right? So you're there with your books, with your articles, with your research. You wear many hats.
Yeah, this is where I spend some time of my life in this office. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, perfect. Well, today we're going to focus a bit more on, let's say, the outreach part of your work, and I'm so pleased to have you in the Innovation Room with me. Normally, we would start this with some housekeeping and talking about the subjects, the flow, but actually, I thought we would do it a little bit different, and we'd start with a bit of disambiguation, because our listeners or viewers would probably want to know exactly what we're zooming in on today. So maybe I ask you this. What is artificial intelligence? So what's up with all this hype about AI? You know, it's become very fashionable. Some people use it, even abuse it. What's your take on that? How would we define it in the context, especially of a firm?
Okay, so the interesting thing about AI that it means so many things, and that's probably the reason why it's so useful and generative term, and also not that useful sometimes. So, well, if we go back in time, AI, artificial intelligence, was not a new thing in the 50s, because there was discussion about human intelligence and machine intelligence and so on. But in 56 they came with artificial intelligence, and this related to machines or systems that can mimic or replace human intelligence. As simple as that. And then, of course, this is pretty fascinating. And, you know, that's been the original guess to replace, mimic human intelligence, like learning, decision making, making predictions. And in different forms, AI is trying to do the same even today. It's just that the form and the type and the role of AI is constantly changing. So I would say for innovating firms or innovators, AI it's a group of technologies, group of digital technologies and group of software. We can't really live without AI anymore. It's embedded in all of our most important software products. And we can use it in quite many ways. And that's why it's fascinating. We are coming up with new ways every day. And maybe I can end with by saying that AI also is a field of science. It's a popular culture story. It's a narrative.
Definitely.
It's a dream. It's all of this. That's why it's interesting to people.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's also up to us to figure out what it means individually, right? So we'll have it in the context of a firm, but certainly it will also mean something personally to us. Maybe this brings me to my next inquiry, because of course we have it, right? So it's here with us, but we have to figure out what exactly to do with it, as you just said. So in effect, I guess we're trying to carve out a strategy, right, for AI. And a lot of people, or at least maybe traditionally, they've been thinking about digital strategies, which let's say was the step before. Then currently AI is sort of part of it. And I came across some very fascinating research, and the research goes a little bit like this. I'm going to draw it with my hands for you. So apparently there is evidence to say that there's an inverted U relationship between a CEO's digital strategy and the innovation outcomes that their firm is experiencing. So as you can imagine, there are two ends to this, both of which render, not ideal outcomes, let's say it like that. So too little or too much of that can be really detrimental to the firm, but there's a sweet spot in the middle. And does any of that resonate with you? Is this something you've picked up? Is there an optimal level for a digital strategy?
Yeah, and AI. So yeah, for sure there is, but I think it's nice to step back and think about inverted U curves in general.
Oh.
So almost anything has an inverted U curve. So if you start consuming certain type of drinks, or if you start exercising, or if your company starts to implement any type of strategy or orientation, there is some marginal benefit. It fades off and results in an inverted U curve. When too much is then not bringing any more benefits, and the harms and costs are larger. So then the curve gets inverted. So that's why I'm not surprised that digital strategy has an inverted U curve. But I would say for the digital part, of course, companies are excited about digital transformation and have been so for a long time. And this is, of course, just the average, this inverted U curve. So what's the level of digital that companies should shoot for? So companies are very different. So what we can know about digital is that most companies can benefit from it, but some companies probably benefit more to do something with digital and with AI than others. And then we really need to also look at what the company does and not overall what companies benefit from.
Yeah. And sometimes we hear these terms, especially in letters from not just from the CEO, but generally in press releases. People boast about being AI first. Maybe it's worth also digging into that. So what does it mean to be AI first? And are there maybe categories in which people find themselves as they start to pick up a little bit of confidence and as they start implementation? I know you've worked on that.
Yeah, for sure. So first, if we think about that, how does digital and AI differ? So I would position AI in the bigger scheme of things of digital. So we had electricity first, that's a long time ago, but this is sort of precedent for all of this transformation. And then we came up with internet. We started collecting data with sensors. First we used pen and paper, or maybe even before, so we carved things in the stone, right? So data became. Then we came up with algorithms. That also happened before the internet and before electricity. We came up with functions to calculate predictions from those carvings in stone or markings.
Yes.
And okay, fast forward to today. So we have this internet, data, algorithms, software, applications. It's all part of a big system, and AI plays a part in digital transformation because of this overarching collection of data and the utility of data for business benefits. We really can't use all of that with actually making predictions, clustering that data, and so on. So that's AI. AI comes very naturally into digital strategy. But I guess you asked about the AI first, so I can also.
Yeah,
dive into that?
definitely. Because I think a lot of people will start making decisions. It's also the beginning of the year as we're recording this, and I assume it will be very high up on the decision makers' agenda.
Yeah, so it certainly is. I've discussed with a lot of decision makers and entrepreneurs and even university administrators. So everybody's thinking that, okay, what's the role of AI in our strategy, and should we have an AI strategy? So in the longer term, probably I would say companies won't need a digital strategy or AI strategy because these things become commonplace, and strategy is something else. Then when things are commonplace, you try to find your niche from different sharp angles. It's not just AI, just digital, but it's your particular approach to that. And this brings me to the AI first strategy. So Google CEO had this vision for Google when machine learning had really those breakthroughs some 5, 6, 8 years ago. So it was 2016 when Google CEO Sundar Pichai he announced that Google is going to be AI first company, and that sounded pretty cool and interesting. And I started to study and search for AI first companies with my colleagues. And then we were studying this when generative AI came to the public knowledge. ChatGPT moment, the big AI moment, or the iPhone moment for AI. So when that happened, this speeded things a little bit, but we still continued the search. That what does an AI first strategy mean? So then we found 3 types of companies basically. So digital tycoons is the usual suspects. So we have the Google, of course, and we have many others. These companies who have access to so much of data, and their products are made of data basically. So AI runs these programs. AI runs the value that these companies can provide. No Google search suggestion, no recommendation engine. These wouldn't work with AI. So they do have this advantage with data, algorithms, execution.
Of course.
Yeah, that's we call them the digital tycoons. Like the not maybe robber barons, but like the tycoons of the past. They do have the resources.
Yeah, Paavo, data is the new oil, so we can safely call them tycoons.
Yeah, that's why we call them tycoons. And then we had 2 other categories. So the second category was the niche carvers. So not everybody can be a tycoon, not in the world of oil, or not in the world of AI and data, and don't need to be. Everybody uses the products and possibilities and affordances that these tycoons provide. But then we have niche carvers. So these are the companies that really know what they're doing in their specific field. So not even Google or Microsoft can do everything. So for instance, in medical imaging or some specific speech recognition, we are founding companies that really they understand the regulation, they understand the business, they have people who have been working in those specialized fields. So then they develop those algorithms that actually work within those institutional assumptions in a way that allows them to really, to use the data in a proper way, to provide those predictions. They will know which types of professionals are using those predictions. So there is a place for those type of companies. So that was number 2. And then we found this maybe the most traditional and interesting category, perhaps, which we call the asset augmenters. So many companies actually live in the physical world. So they sell products, they own properties. People go into properties owned by those companies, and so on. So companies like Kone or John Deere, we know John Deere from digital agriculture. So these companies actually own some sophisticated machinery, or they own some properties where they can collect data. They actually, that is their exclusive advantage, is the understanding and the ownership of some assets, which they can then collect data from, and then somehow they either monetize that data and understanding, or then they create new business, or they run their business better. Predictive maintenance is the extremely classic business service that these companies do. So we thought long and hard, and we didn't come up with other AI first strategies. We talked with a lot of companies. So if somebody comes up with new types, I'm very happy to hear about those.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I'm taking away from what you just said is that there can be different starting points, and none of these methods are less worthy than others. As you say, you don't have to be a master of the universe, a digital tycoon, in order to derive value. You can very safely use AI in an informed way or in a very industry specific way and really come out in front by doing that. So this is something that we get asked a lot also in my profession, because I work a lot directly with companies and supporting them with innovation and with other matters, perhaps collaborating with externals. So something maybe that I'm imagining for the future is that we'll have exactly this mass customized approach. So everybody will essentially adapt this toolkit to their own needs. And then the question is it ever too late to start? And I'm wondering if you have an opinion about that.
Yeah, so it might feel a little overwhelming when we see these digital tycoons or any leaders in the AI space being really advanced. So what's interesting, what happened now with the generative AI and with the chatbots and large language models, AI got a little democratized. So that's why we can call it the iPhone moment of AI. People do, different companies do. We have more access to those, and this is the bigger story of digital transformation also. All of us have better access to content, better access to knowledge. So this in a sense it evens the tides a little bit, lifts all the boats and so on. So it's more matter of adapting and applying rather than necessary. Now the big bottleneck is not to acquire some deep tech knowledge, because it's getting more accessible, and that's exciting. So it means that not everybody need to be a Google or Netflix or Microsoft. We can get the best productivity tools, but at the same time, I think this brings in the generative AI paradox. I call it the generative AI paradox. It's because, well, everybody got access to those tools, so everybody's productivity potentially gets better. So it might be a liability not to use those. Like, everybody uses Excel and email. How great is that? Probably pretty great, but we don't think about it anymore. So AI becomes commonplace, and then we'll have to find our advantage from somewhere else. Probably, even the old school brands, competitive strategy, customer relationships, mission, meaning, those type of things might become even more valuable. This is just my kind of anti view to the hype.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's something fun. I once listened to a presentation about AI, and the presenter was describing AI as the new colleague freshly out of college who we now employ and who's giving us very sound advice. He has all the knowledge in the background, but it's very difficult for him to apply it. So in a way, it's our job to train this AI and to make them our friend, not our enemy. And here comes another dilemma, because what happens if this new colleague becomes extremely skilled and maybe they come in and start replacing us? It's something that people have been asking for some years now already, as the technology has become better and better and faster. Do you think we'll be replaced? Do you think there'll be AI doing these podcasts and kind of simulating what you and I do here today?
I think so, over time. So in the long term, everything changes. In the short term, not much. So I like the historical perspective. So I saw the statistic that automation technologies every year they replace 2% of the jobs.
Oh wow.
And yes, and people still have jobs, right? So what economists say, there's the displacement effect and reinstatement effect. And which effect is stronger? This will result into massive job loss or massive job gain. But if we look at the history at all, we can see that we have been able to reinstate new jobs, new tasks as the old ones have been automated. Now the big scare is that is the AI a new general purpose technology that is actually so multi-purpose? Now you listen to this seminar where someone says that we have now a new colleague, and this colleague can do a lot of things, write, even speak probably, do a podcast script for sure, respond to those podcast questions.
They listen, they don't talk so much, right?
Yeah, indeed. So is it different? Is this time different? That's the classic question. My thinking is that things shake up a bit, but this is not different in the way that we wouldn't readjust. So similar to you can think it was a really big revolution when we got access to internet and all the knowledge and so on, and people were worried about, okay, so now that we get access to knowledge, is there any use for going to the library, and is there any use for education, and so on and so forth. We have adjusted, we changed our roles, what we do probably in the content production and working with content. We will move a little bit to the curation, assessment, meaning making, holding the or kind of overseeing the process, and that's fine. So there are these assessments that which type of work is gonna be reduced, and the reason why we also talk about it now, and the public press is talking about it, is that for a long time the automation technology was replacing blue collar worker. Okay, so these are the factory work, agricultural work, whatever. Robotics is replacing that. And then now that AI is coming to the scenery of journalism, communications, and creative people, these people do have a voice which is pretty loud, and now with and researchers, podcasters, anyone. So we do talk about it now because we are a little shaken up that okay, so is some of this job going to be replaced? And we already see some companies announcing, especially in the States where there is a little bit of more dynamic workforce turnaround, to say it somehow politely. So there is less friction in terms of people changing their jobs or being laid off and so on. So we are seeing a lot of that, and there are now already statistics that show that, for instance, in service operations and in communications and those types of tasks, there will be some reductions in the workforce, and interestingly, in some other fields, there will be increase of workforce, increase of new tasks. So this is the job displacement, job reinstatement taking place at the same time. And it depends on whether we're pessimistic or optimistic, that whether these new jobs are better or worse than the old jobs that we lose.
Yeah, it's completely true. And probably it's not such a bad thing if we replace mundane, boring, repetitive tasks with a bit of automation so that we can put our creative minds to some good use. But as always, there are the promoters of this, and there are people who will fight against it. Maybe we do have some modern Luddites here. And from the sound of it, you seem like pretty much a realist. You take the data, you look at the trends. There's a very interesting McKinsey report that you've shared with me. We'll also make that available in the show notes. And would you say you're also an optimist in addition to being a realist? What's your take on that? How would you describe yourself in relation to this big, broad topic?
Okay, so yeah, can I answer both, please?
Of course.
Because I'm ambivalent about this. So I'm of two minds. So the little kid in me, who read the science fiction books since the age of 6 about robots that can talk and human AI interaction was a big theme back then in the 90s when I was reading those books. So we can dream of limitless possibilities. AI is an exponential technology, so Moore's law is at play here. So we have exponential computing power doing all kinds of great things. So maybe we can indeed get rid of mundane, manual, dangerous laborers. Maybe humankind conquers the stars eventually. All this is possible with AI and robotics and exponential technology. So this I like this techno optimist and idealist view, because whatever we have now is a result of this idealism and optimism.
And I remember that you recommended that I read a book some time ago, and that was also about the rise of the robots and what would happen. And I remember that even, if we think about what was in the media back in the 90s and what kinds of cartoons were being broadcast on television, you had things like the Jetsons that were already projecting a couple of things upon us. Well, we're there. I can talk to you through a screen, and that's a really good thing. And I'm also an optimist, just like you. So I'm imagining that these things will only go forward. Maybe it's also interesting to ask you, where do you take your inspiration from? What are you reading nowadays?
Okay, so these inspirational things, they come from these books that provide a nice rationale to be optimistic. So the classic book, which is a very, very kind of solid book as well, is Prediction Machines. So this is by Agrawal, Gans, and Goldfarb. So I think this book is from 2018, and it's a modern classic. So they are describing how the price of prediction has dramatically dropped. This is part of this exponential, and it has dropped so much after they wrote this book, actually. So this can achieve a lot, and this is a very kind of level-headed book, but it's also brings a lot to this optimism. And then maybe you can put this also to the show notes, because this is a really cool book. Because if you like science fiction like me, there is this book called AI 2041, 10 Visions of Our Future by Kai-Fu Lee, and it's a collaboration. So there's a science scholar, and then there are always someone who wrote a science fiction novel, and there is a commentary about that technology development and about that future reality. And I revisited the book a little bit. So it's like written like two years ago or so. So I revisited it a bit, and it appears that year 41 is much closer than it was when the book was written, not too long ago. So the future is coming in a fast pace, and we'll have to face it.
Yeah.
So just as an example, in that book there was a chapter about the future of education and micro-tailoring of education with a conversational agent. We have now several companies doing that, and this was supposed to be in the 40s. So this was before the LLMs came to the popular press.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting. And you also have books like I personally like Neil deGrasse Tyson. He doesn't write fiction necessarily, but what I like is that he has books such as Conversations or Letters to an Astrophysicist, and in them he writes about what people ask of him, and that's also what I'm imagining that happens right now and will happen more in the future. People will ask these questions: what can we do with everything that's happening around us? So people are curious. I think all generations are curious, and then we just have to keep making sense of it. I'm of the conviction that we sort of design our own future. Things don't really happen to us. So the locus of control is actually within us. And we can influence a lot. So probably the more people talk about this, the more people write books, research articles, do this back and forth. That I really like what you just described, this back and forth between the scientist and maybe the fiction novelist. And that's the intersection that we're interested in, because this ping pong gets us further and further and further. We have to sort of design this ideal universe that we want to inhabit with, totally democratized education, with a lot of accessibility, with things happening faster, cheaper. I don't know, online consultations. AI will look into my retina or onto my retina and figure out what's wrong with me. I won't have to queue. So I think there's
think that
lots of good
already
things.
exists.
I see, so that's already there.
Yeah,
It's just not evenly distributed, and
indeed.
we talk about this a lot. Yeah, perfect. Okay, well, we are slowly gravitating towards the end of our episode today. So there are a couple of, let's say, ending or closing questions that I'd like to ask you. And one of them, I was actually wondering about that just now. What would happen if we would record this in 5 years' time, or if we really go for the long shot, what would happen if we re-record this in 50 years' time? We'd be really old. What do you think would be different around us? What would we be talking about then?
Okay, so I would hope so that in 5 years, in 50 years, we have also we have figured out the way to use AI to resolve our grand challenges. Like this is perhaps the more pessimistic thing is that I'm not seeing the big race to sort of save the planet and save humanity in terms of AI. So this is why we need to talk about responsible AI and all that. So we have a big excitement to the economic benefits and productivity in AI. And is our life getting better as we use the email so efficiently? And so what we are seeing, and if we discuss about what AI has done for us, I think in the more bad scenario, we will spread more thin, and we will be very very messy with the algorithms, and our lives is even more busy than nowadays. But I'd like to believe in a little better future. Of course, I'm more of an idealist. So I think let's say in 5 years, I think generative AI and language models is embedded in all kinds of software. We have these co-pilots, and we have these coaches everywhere. So this is 5 years. This is not difficult to see because we're already somehow going there. But then in 50 years, this is the interesting thing. So I have to say that it's not possible to even imagine, because it's gonna be badly wrong. But luckily, there will be a trace of this discussion after 50 years. I hope I can listen to it then. So I would say that AI will be integrated to all physical systems and also in the biological systems. This is the more controversial thing. But of course, we are building the brain-computer interfaces already. We are, the AI researchers and AI developers, they do have the dream of general artificial intelligence, of course, so multi-purpose systems. And then I would think, because, we are in an innovation podcast, I would say that AI is driving much of the innovation. We have a lot of autonomous organizations. We humans are hopefully setting some of those goals also, but we are moving to the assessing and reviewing. And I really hope we are also moving to the reaping of the benefits of the technology in terms of, in a more humanistic way, in a somehow livable planet. So I think, technology could do that as well. And we do need AI, and we need this improved productivity to get there.
Yeah,
this is my hope. Yeah.
Yeah, I also hope so. I hope we don't end up like in this cyberpunk game type of scenario with this dystopian future. I hope it's not that. I hope it's more that we can be the best versions of ourselves, and as you say, we can just augment our work, and it just becomes a part of our life, and we live perhaps even in a more harmonious way with the resources around us, because all of a sudden we can optimize much better. Perfect. And if there is one lesson, and this is tough, I know, but if there is just one lesson that you want our listeners and viewers to take away from today, what would that lesson be?
Okay, so I would say perhaps that when we talk about AI, we talk about like it's one thing, but it's not one thing. It's multiple things, and I think it's an interesting. It was also a revelation for me at some point when I realized that, okay, so AI is always the next frontier, the next development in computing and in information systems. So we stopped calling AI things that became commonplace. We don't call navigation AI. And
true, very true.
We don't at all, even though we put our decision rights to AI when we navigate with our cell phone somewhere. So AI is the next constantly evolving frontier of digital technology, and it's very exciting. It's very rewarding to be somehow riding in this wave, because this is where the new stuff is coming from, and this also explains why AI is fascinating. I would put that as a takeaway.
Yeah, absolutely. And there probably will be a next wave and a next wave, and I don't know what those waves are, but it definitely seems like it's exciting. Maybe AI will reinvent itself. Who knows? If it can think so much, maybe it will design a new path. I have no idea, but definitely it's exciting. And we already have exciting things ahead of us. We can record this for posterity. Maybe these podcasts and learnings will also feed into large language models, and then we'll just take our understanding to an entirely new level. Thank you so much, Paavo, for your time, for your candor, for your openness. And I wish you good luck with your research, because you've got, I'm sure, lots of projects that you're juggling simultaneously. And I can't wait for you to tell us how you're doing with those. We'll certainly add your links into the show notes. And I hope you'll want to stay in touch with us. And maybe we do a rerun of this podcast later, once we've learned a little bit more.
Let's do it in 5 years and in 50 years.
Hi there, this is me again, unaugmented Oana for now, in the innovation room by herself. My guest, Professor Paavo Ritala, is off to his research, advisory, and science communication work, and that's a great thing. There is so much more that we can or should learn about artificial intelligence in the context of our professional and even private lives. As you've just heard, this collection of incredibly powerful technologies, which we collectively call AI, is clearly here to stay. We might as well become comfortable with it, and we might as well accept our discomfort too. It's natural to feel uneasy about bringing this unprecedented level of augmentation and automation into companies. There are switching costs to be made, there are culture battles to be fought, there's productivity discussions to be had, digital strategies to be published and communicated, all in the right dose, of course. You remember the research. What I take away from my conversation with Paavo is that despite the noise surrounding this topic, it's so very exciting to ride the wave. It's a revolution. It's testing our balance, no doubt, but look at what we are capable of. And sure, there are many unanswered questions as well. What about data quality? Will AI ever be able to tackle the big challenges too? Although you have to agree that generating news or even creating some art is pretty cool. And then, how do we thread this fine line between copying and creativity? And what would George Jetson have to say about all of this? With that, I'd like to thank you so much for listening and for watching. All the resources mentioned in this episode will be linked in the show notes or in the video description below. And before I go, there is a favor that I'd like to ask. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a review and do consider subscribing. We welcome your comments, your questions, ideas on any of the content that we produce. And trust me, it'll be like a win-win. You provide us with some insights, with some inspiration, and we circle back with even better topics and resources. Bye for now. I'll see you at the next one.